So, this is chapter 8 from the Textbooks Go All in One, and this is all about digital ethics and awareness. Now, searching the internet. All right, you guys already did a search, or I believe you guys did a search assignment that was last week, where we were looking at how to be a better Googler per se. All right, um, and I'm not saying that all of the search companies, especially all of them I've listed here, are going to have those same type of Boolean operators that you can, but a lot of them will have something that's going to be somewhat similar. All right. The first thing I would talk about with searching is hits. All right, and that's overall going to be how many results do you have. All right, and if you go ahead and we type something into a Google search, and we're just going to go with dogs. Bring up that slide. All right, you'll see right here we have about 2,999,000,000 results, and it took 0.85 seconds, which is pretty amazing. We go down to German Shepherds. We're down to 134 million, and we can keep kind of getting farther and farther. And so that's our hit counter right there, and they're all gonna have their own special search results. Let's just go ahead and do a little quick comparison of Bing and Google. So same exact search, German Shepherd. Just see how they compare. So Bing, we've got some images across the top. See the search counter on this one? Oh, it's around summer. I just don't know where it is. Anyway, so we can see we've got some pictures of different German Shepherds at the top. We've got some news related to it, and then we actually get down to the searches. If we go to Google, and I didn't want to click, we've just got search results right off the pop. We also have some questions that people might ask about them. We got a little map related to, I guess, things related to dogs. So they're both going to give you different results. I mean, notice Wikipedia is on both of them for German Shepherd. It just took a little bit down to get down to them. All right. So they're all going to have their own way of doing things and their own search parameters that they're following, and their own special sauce, the algorithm you might hear called about. All right. And the game here is no one wants, these big, large companies wants no one to know what their algorithm they use is. All right. And there's a few reasons behind that. One is that's their bread and butter, right? That's why you go to Google. You like the results that Google gives you when you do a search. All right. And if it wasn't for that special sauce algorithm that they had, then you wouldn't get the Schultz results that they think you want and all those other fun things. And this has probably been tweaked over every year, every day. They're constantly trying, oh, what about if we change this variable or that variable? We want to show more videos or this or that, or things like that. And some of that may come from your history with Google. If the searches you've done, when you do a search with Google, they may go, this person likes videos. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to throw at the top is videos. So it could be very specific to just you that those search results are coming, how your Schultz results compared to what my search results are. It could be a wholly different thing. So that's the one reason Google doesn't want you to know. It's all about protecting their assets. It's what makes you go to them. The other and almost the bigger reason that you don't want that they don't want you to know their algorithm is to protect the integrity of search. All right. Google does its best to remove things that it doesn't think are important. All right. Try to keep the spam websites, the websites that aren't high quality, from actually showing up in their search results. And while it is wonderful that Google does that, however, it also keeps you from seeing those websites that are maybe of the smaller variety. It might be something that your friend made, and you're trying to find his little homemade website and things like that, and you don't know the exact URL, so you're just searching for it and things like that. And until he starts getting a lot of views and things like that, Google might promote his website on their search, even if it perfectly matches everything that they have. But that's also keeping you from getting all these websites that all they are is ads. All right, and a lot of people have made a lot of money that way. When the search engines first started, they'd have little keywords on their websites. So when you did like a Jeep, you search for a Jeep Compass or whatever vehicle it is you want, it would take you to this person's website that has nothing to do with Jeeps. And you're like, why the hell am I here? Well, if you'd scroll to the very bottom of the page, they'd have thousands of different keywords that would make it so their website would pop up in the search results. So that way, even though the website was worthless, it would get you there. All right. I'll come back to the chat in a minute. Um, so it gets you there. But so that allows them to make money. It also allows them, those people who are doing this. So if they can figure out what Google's algorithm is and figure out what makes the site special or what makes them promote a certain type of site, they can then start targeting that, and they can build crappy websites that are going to meet those criteria. And of course, when you go to these websites, then they have ads on them, which they get paid for every time an ad is loaded on their page. So it's a huge, huge, huge deal to be able to understand the search algorithms to then get your page to show up, because you can make a lot of money that way. Somebody asked, why do you pay to get a search optimization? Um, I'm not quite sure what you're meaning by search optimization. Are you talking about, like, why would you pay to get your website promoted in the search, or a little bit more detail there would be helpful. Why do you want to pay to become first in search? How many people, when they do a Google search, click on the first link that shows up? What do you think about that? And so if your link is that first one at the top of the page of the search results, you are going to have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people coming to your website. So that is why people want to be that first link. All right. The other thing is Google used to, and I think they still do. So I'm doing German Shepherd. All right. They used to have a I'm feeling lucky button. Maybe if I actually go to google.com, it'll show up. There we go. German Shepherd. So they have, oh no, I don't care. They have a German Shepherd. So they have an I'm feeling lucky bucket. And that actually is basically just opening the first link of the search. So it keeps you from having to do a search and going, I want to click on this first link anyway. This is the akc.org dog breeds. And if we come over here, we can see it's akc.dogbreeds. So it takes you that first one. The higher up you are in the search, the more likely someone is to click on your stuff. And again, if you have ads and things like that going on your page, you're making money every time somebody clicks on your website. So that's why you want to pay to get higher up on that search optimization. I don't know about you guys. I couldn't tell you the last time that I actually clicked the next button on Google search. Like how I said, you know what? Let's just go to the next page and see what's on there. I couldn't tell you the next time I go on that. Most of the time, when I do a search and I do it correctly and I've phrased it properly, the information I need is on the first, like 10 or 15 links that Google shows me. And, that's just because their search optimization has come up with the proper solution of this is what's important. If you were to put all sorts of junk ads on these websites here because someone is paying for it, and every time I click, they're getting paid, they're making a lot of money off of it. Now, they're probably paying through the nose to do that, but it's not actually helping me, which then would make me not want to use that search provider because they are not showing me results that are relevant. So it all comes down to money is really what it comes down to. So yeah, that's why people would pay for search optimization. So anyway, so the number of hits you have is how many basically results that you were showing. All right. Now next I have on the list is spiders. All right, and there was a video that I hope you all watched. It's a really good video that I have posted about how Google search engine works. So if you actually Google spider, I wish I website the overview. I don't know. I found a video from Google that explains their spiders. Last time I checked, it was private, so you can't like specifically find it. But there's a lot of information out there about how the spiders work and how they're crawling the internet, trying to basically find all these new websites and categorize them and those types of things. So it's a really, really good video. Edit. Oh. Yeah, not that one. Anyway, that link is posted up on my IT lab for you to come in, or for you guys to watch. So, but basically, spiders are just programs that crawl the web and gather information. And in it, it talks about how when you search Google, when you go to google.com, it is not truly searching the internet. It is searching Google's picture of the internet, their database. So they've gone through and they have a database of every website that they've scanned that their spider has visited. And it says, okay, on this website is this information, and it has all its little tags and things like that, and the reliability and all those other things about the website that it thinks are important. And when you click on it, when you do a search, it searches through its little database and says these are what it should see. All right, so those are what the little spiders are. Now over here on the list, right, I do have a whole bunch of different search. We have Google. I think that's Bing. I've never heard of Baidu, Ask, AOL, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, Yandex. Ecosaya, haven't heard of that one, or the Internet Archive, I haven't really heard of that one yet, but there's a lot of them out there. There are websites such as that are called meta search engines, and a meta search engine is a search engine that searches other search engines and aggregates their results. So they're trying to kind of shortcut the system here. So instead of them coming up with all of the hard work of coming up with their whole own algorithm and those types of things, um, they're just going to say, okay, we're going to submit your search to multiple different people, and then we're going to see what the results of that are. So one example of that is Dogpile. All right. So if we go ahead and come in here, there we go. But if we go ahead and do that German Shepherd again, helps if I can spell it right. This is what Dogpile shows you. All right. And then it says, what are you looking for? And then it gives us some web results down here. That'd be a little bit of a cleaner interface, in my opinion, than Google or whatnot, where they've kind of started to spam things a little bit. I also always find it interesting when you do a Google search. I just search for Best Buy, and I'm not going to go to Best Buy's website. But if you do a Google search for Best Buy, of course it didn't do it this time. A lot of times you'll see it says like ad or something somewhere. Oh, that one pops it up. Nope, that one didn't do it either. A lot of times right up here, the first few results are going to be ads. All right, so you do want to be kind of careful about that. Or not careful, might still be the information you want, but Home Depot is paying Google a little bit, or whatever company that says, hey, someone does this search result, let's put a little ad right at the top that says our store, so you come there. All right, Home Depot acrylics, is that gonna? No, of course not. My little examples aren't showing me what I want, but that's okay. So, but meta search engines, they're going to search it. So I don't know what DuckDuckGo does, how it does its search, but it is one of those meta search engines. Other options are ITHAKI. I don't know how to spell that one. Polymeta, Search Salad, Seeks. So are all examples of different meta search engines. And then when it comes to Boolean searches. All right, and again, this is something that you guys should have done for your that search assignment. But so Boolean assignment searches. So those are going to be using Boolean operands, and those type things are quotes or the plus button, the minus button, tilde, vertical line, and or double dot, asterisk, those types of things. So a quote would be something that we would use to help limit our results. So let's just go back to Google, just life easy, and we're going to go with Mountain West. Why not? All right. So right now, it's Google's taking its best guess at what you meant by mountain West Virginia, and that would pull up West Virginia, obviously, mountains, lists of mountains, those types of things, all over the place. And if we look, this one's actually not giving us the search results, which is helpful. Google. Go with Mountain West. Let's see what that brings up. There we go. Again, 1.8 billion results. Now, if I put quotes around this, you'll see that our results are going to get severely limited down. Now we're at 5 million. We're under a third because now we're looking for everything that must contain mountain and west just like that. All right, so it definitely shrinks down your search field. If we say, I want mountains west, but I don't want anything that has Virginia in it, Virginia, now I can do a little minus sign, all right, and it's taking out anything that has the word Virginia in it. So it's saying it can't include this. All right. Back to the PowerPoint. So minus that, tilde searches for a specific word, and that word synonyms. The or is basically just like doing two different searches and putting them together. Dot dot period is used for ranges. So we could go ahead and add 2020. Actually, let's go with 2015 dot dot 2021. And now it's searching for things within that year frame, or that someone 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. So again, we're constantly going to keep just shrinking down our options. And we also have the wild card, which is the asterisk. So it's used as a placeholder when you don't know the word. So if we would go back to this, and I'd say west. I'd say I don't know if this asterisk is going to work inside of this. Say that. Now it's going to start including Virginia and probably some other things, stuff like that. So a lot of capability there in the long run when it comes to these types of searches. So something to keep your eye on. And every search engine might have some slightly different tweaks of, this is the Boolean operations we're using versus them and how we use them and what they do. So, something that you do want to think about. Now, when it comes to the credibility of a website, and I like this, my first bullet. Everything on the internet is true. Ha ha ha. All right. Yeah. Don't, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. Just because it's in a newspaper doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I believe things in a newspaper much more than I believe things on the internet now. But you always need to do your own background checking. Is really what it comes down to. All right. You need to make sure that the information you're reading is from a trustworthy source, and you understand that they would actually have a good knowledge in this subject, and it's in a great, lots of things. So when it comes down to credibility, are you evaluating as you evaluate a web page for possible use or reference, read with a critical eye and ask yourself these questions. All right. First, who is the author of this page? All right. There are many websites out there that have no authors. I was in a class at my undergrad, and my teacher never actually told us the answer to a question she had on a test, which really bothers me. Like, it wasn't mentioned in the book, it wasn't mentioned anywhere. She expected us to have found that answer on the internet. And me and another student posted something, and and we were asking her about it. She's like, "Well, if you can show me a web page that says, shows me that is true, I'll give you credit." And I kind of made the comment, "Well, I can make a website that says that," and she wasn't very happy with me. But anyway, I can put whatever I want on the internet. And the wonderful thing about the internet is that you can find people that have views that are the same as yours. You can find people on the internet who believe the earth is flat. All right. And it's just what it comes down to. So you do need to think about who is the author of this page. You also need to think about, is the author an expert in the field? So again, my name could be on the author of a page for something political. It's not, but it could be. And then you may go, well, he might be an expert in electronics or something, but he's nowhere near an expert in politics. I'm not going to believe a word that he says. So you do need to take who the author is. So you may have to then go do research of the author. All right. Next question is, does the author reference his or her sources? All right. If they're going to give you links to other things, they're going to give you links to other things. So you can actually start having a paper trail now, which proves to you that information is probably more on the acceptable side than the not. So that is something you want to look at. Wikipedia is the bane of all teachers' existence because students will go on it and just believe whatever on there is true. A lot of it is going to be true, but there's also a lot of it that's not. For those who don't understand Wikipedia, it's part of that Web 2.0 that we talked about last class, where you and I are the experts. We are the ones that can go on there and edit things and tweak things and those types of stuff. And it's come a long way since its beginning, but it's still not saying that everything on there is true. It's just that's someone's perspective on it. But Wikipedia does traditionally have a resource link at the bottom of their pages, like, hey, this is, I made these tweaks, here's where I got that information from, and that gets posted on Wikipedia. Those are great sources for you as a student writing a paper. You can go to Wikipedia as a starting point. You shouldn't be writing information based purely on Wikipedia. But if you go to Wikipedia and then you go look at the resources and you start using those resources and branching out, that is a great place for you to get lots of information about specific topics. All right. What organization sponsors the website? Is a trustworthy organization? Do they have accreditation of some sort? Those types of things. Does the author or the intended's audience have an inherent bias towards the topic? All right, again, political things. There's always going to be bias. We all have biases. We can't ignore that. There's always going to be a bias. The best thing you can do is try to remove said bias from what you're posting. You also want to look at what is the purpose of the page. Is it there to help you? Is it there to just give you information? What's the purpose there? Does the information appear to be accurate? You have a little bit of a knowledge, and you're going, this is smelling fishy to me. Why would they say blah 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 blah? And last, is the page current? Is it up to date? All right, and that's one of the biggest issues you're gonna have with forums when you're searching things on the internet. And you're like, oh, I'm having this problem with my computer. And you do search, and you're like, oh, I'm reading. You're like, okay, this one has the exact same answer as me, or the problem is me. And then you look at it, and you're like, well, they do, but this is also like 4 years old. So maybe it's not the best place to be trying something for Windows 10 when it was a Windows 7 question. So definitely something that you want to keep in the back of your eye. Next, about credibility, we have intellectual property. All right, and this refers to creations of minds, such as inventions, literacy, and artistic works, designs and symbols, names, and images used in commerce. Intellectual property is protected by national and international laws, such as patents for inventions, trademarks, which are logos or symbols that represent a brand, and copyright for literary and artistic. All right, so intellectual property is going to be big. I do have a little bit about plagiarism on this page too. So did you just steal thing? Where's this information coming from? There's also the fair use laws, which is maybe I gotta talk about that somewhere. Oh, that's another bullet point. So there's all these fine lines. It's like, you can't just take someone's YouTube video and repost it as your own and then get all the ad money and whatnot for it. Google actually does a lot in the background to keep you from doing that. And while they may let you post the video, all the ad revenue may go to the original owner of said video. So it may get people to your channel, but it may not actually do anything else for you. And oftentimes you will get copyright infringement strikes and things like that against your account, which is never a good thing. We also have public domain, which are works that are not restricted by copyright. They are owned by the public and can be used freely. All right. You might hear like the Creative Commons license or things like that. When you are searching the internet, you can sometimes restrict things to make sure they are copyright free, and this was specific to Bing at least, or at least what I was looking at, or the example that I was coming from. So if we go ahead and let's stick with German Shepherd, and then search filter. There we go. License, and then you could say public domain or Creative Commons, free to share and use. So you can actually pick specifically what type of licenses that you're looking for with all Creative Commons. So in theory, all of these can be used without much issues. You may have to like put a little disclaimer, those types of things going on. So something that you want to think about public domain. We have plagiarism, which is the use of someone else's work without permission or credit, passing off as your own work, including material found on the internet. All right. So, as somebody was asking in the chat about public plagiarism, so yeah, you can't just go copy things on the internet. All right. Now, there is something called fair use, and this allows, without the permission of the rights holder, the use of brief selections of copyright materials for the purpose such as commentary and criticism, news reporting, teaching and research. And basically, there are 4 factors determining if something is intended at fair use. So, purpose and character of the use, nature of the copyrighted work, amount of substantivity, and the effects of the work upon work's value. So, is it fair use for you to do something? And this is like, when people are making comments on like, Apple releases their big, hey, here's what's coming out in the near future from us, and people make YouTube videos and they include clips of Apple's press release, and that's fair work because they're making comments on it. They're looking at it, and it's hard for them to say, well, based on, at minute 32 when Apple's release, that would just be ridiculous. Then as the person watching it, you'd have to pull up both videos and be jumping all around. So instead, there's the fair use law, which allows you to just use little bits and pieces of it at a time. Still can't put like the whole YouTube video up, but you can take little bits and pieces of it. So then we have Creative Commons. So this is a non-profit organization that provides free legal tools to change the creator copyright terms from all rights reserved to some rights reserved type of thing. So licensing is a big one. I am not your expert on this. So if you ever have questions about intellectual property, plagiarism, Creative Commons, public domain, those types of things, probably better talk to somebody that is not. A lawyer would probably be your best bet, at least your best starting point if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty of it. But there are a lot of people who are going to be much more knowledgeable on the subject than I am. And then we also have the filtering digital content and censorship. All right. So this basically is including blocking access to content on the internet or restricting what can be posted or published. And this is a big issue right now with people. All right. With people getting banned from Facebook or Twitter, and I posted this on Facebook and it didn't get posted, or all those other fun things. Whenever you post something on Facebook or whatnot, there are terms of service that you are supposed to be following. And if Facebook decides that you are not following their terms of service with that post, they have the right to remove your content from their website. And some people are saying that, why is it up to Facebook to moderate what I am and not allowed to post? And it's just this never-ending game of politics and everything else that's going on right now. And it truly is. It's a hard thing to do. All right. Someone says they were blocked 4 times last month on Facebook. I'm assuming from posting something or along those lines. And it is definitely a fine line. And why is Facebook or Twitter or those types of websites? And I don't have a great answer for you. All right, you, some would argue that some would argue that we do need some sort of moderators on the internet because we shouldn't just be able to post all this absolute things that are lies, right? You could post that Greg Betts is the worst teacher in the world on Facebook, and I don't believe that to be true. I hope you don't truly believe that to be true, but why can you just go and post that and then absolutely you could destroy my credibility is what it comes down to. And then HCC could go, well, man, all these people think Greg's the worst teacher in the world. I guess we don't want to keep him around. We need to get rid of him. So it's this wonderful game, and it's just it's a rough world we live in. Before internet was around and people could just put whatever they wanted on the internet to really spread mass information, it took some doing. All right. Now I'm not saying every block is being fair, as someone's putting they were blocked a whole bunch of times, and I don't know why you were blocked, and I'm not even going to get into that. And oftentimes there is a way for you to fight that block. All right, you could go, you can normally that hopefully there's someone you can talk to and go, why was I blocked? And they could hopefully tell you why and what was the reason before it and those types of things and how it violated the terms of service or those types of things. Um, and I've heard stories of this within gaming, video games online. Where people, some company block them and they could not talk to a real person. They were get automated response by email when they were trying to figure out why they were blocked and things like that. And it's yeah, it's sometimes it is unfair. I'm not going to argue that. All right, the systems are not perfect. All right, but my system for blocking people versus your system for blocking people, it's just this never-ending game. And unluckily, for Facebook to truly, you know, go through every user post that people put up, you, me, everybody that everyone puts on Facebook, for them to truly moderate everything, they would need millions and millions and millions of people to go through and read all the posts and understand the background and things like that. And we just don't have the best automated system for blocking those things yet. All right, there are always going to be problems, which is why there should still be some sort of system for you to go against that. Go, I don't understand why I'm being blocked. It's not fair, and here are my reasons. And they can go, yeah, but you also blah 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 blah. There's always two sides to every coin, as people like to say. So you do need to be careful about that. So when it comes down to filtering, now there are good reasons to be filtering. So parents, libraries, and school may filter internet content to help educate the children, and so this could to help protect the children. You don't need little kids going on all these violent websites and violent video games and things like that. So elementary schools may have much harsher blocks on their websites than high schools would. So again, there's a lot of give and take here. Now, at the same point, to me, if I am using your internet connection, then I think you should have the right to keep me from viewing certain things if you don't want me to view them. It's after all, you're paying for the internet that I am using to search for things. And I think it needs to be very obvious that you're blocking things, not just that website's not available. And I also again think you need to have a reasoning for it, and I also think there needs to be ways around that. Schools or your companies might block you from doing things. I know one of my cousin-in-laws, whatever you want to call them, someone I know is an IT person, and their company has blocked like all the sports-related things because they don't want their workers just sitting there and watching football all day or whatnot. Now his boss told him, "Hey, unblock this for me." Basically, like, "Hey, I'm allowed to do this, but you're not." And it's kind of like, "Oh, that's pushing the limit to me." But is if he gets the job done and he wants to sit there and watch football, it's a whole different game. So anyway, and parents, libraries, and schools are filtering the internet content to help educate and protect children. Most people are calling that filtering, not censorship, because they're doing it to help protect them. Censorship, that's a whole different game, all right? It's keeping people from viewing the internet because they don't want you finding out the things that don't match their viewpoints. So little give and take there. Organizations that provide internet for businesses purposes, not for personal use, have the right to restrict its usage. All right, so again, like you go to Home Depot and you're on their Wi-Fi, and you can't go to any other website other than Home Depot. Probably pushing it, but that's the type of idea we're talking about here. There's also the acceptable use policies, and that these are policies that computer and network users in a business or school must abide by that forces users to practice safe computing. All right, and that is reinforcing these restrictions. So you at your house, you can have parental controls over your home Wi-Fi if you know what you're doing. That way you can keep your home kids from going to websites that you don't think they should be able to go to. Or maybe disabling internet come 11 p.m. so your kids have to go to sleep, those types of things. This can be done by the device level or the whole network, or it's all sorts of games that are getting played here. Um, so there are some content controlled software that we can use for filtering. There's also hardware that you can do, like firewalls or things along those. And there's also some operating system settings that you can do to do that. Now, some websites will remove content that violates the terms of service or offends its intended audience. So that's what we're talking about with Facebook deleting posts that it deems inappropriate that are reported by other users, such as nudity, images of violence, hate speech, and threats, those types of things. Twitter had a whole bunch of content removed from thousands of accounts that were linked to the same group. The accounts were created by a troll farm, an organization whose members attempt to sway public opinion or provoke responses by posting false information on mainstream social media sites. So again, it is such a hard line when it comes to removing the stuff that is purposely there to harm people versus just my opinion of something. One of my old coworkers posted something about COVID on their Facebook, and they made two posts about it. One that specifically said COVID in it, and one that didn't. Basically, they had a bad reaction to the first shot, and so they posted just so people would know that this happened to them, and this is a side effect that could be out there. And Facebook blocked the post because it was misleading or something along those lines. And they didn't like how the post was worded, so they said nope, this violates our terms of service because they thought it was false news or something along those lines. Could they have gone against, emailed Facebook and said, explain their position and maybe gotten it back? Yeah, but it probably wasn't worth the effort in the long run there. And I just realized that you guys can't see my slide for the last, I don't know how many. So that's really helpful. Sorry about that. So there's my slide. Oh, the way the game works. All right, now, when it comes to your online presence, do you need and or want an online presence? That is a game right there. All right. As the average user myself, and I'm not a super don't let the world know who I am, those types of things. But overall, I don't really want a huge online presence. All right, I am not a person that posts to Facebook or any social media every day. I try to keep information about myself overall off of the internet. Now, pictures of me are going to end up there because you basically overall no control of what pictures get posted to the internet. But overall, it's do you want or need one? Now, if you're going to become a YouTuber, you want an online presence. You want people to know who you are. That's how you make your money. So there is a lot of a game when it comes to this. All right. Do I think it'd be fun to be a YouTuber? Yeah, I think it could be a good time, especially if you could make a living off of it. But man, if you're truly making a good living off of it, you have one huge online presence, and a lot of people are going to know who you are. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's definitely a thing to be had. All right. Now, this leads us a little bit into netiquette, all right, or online etiquette. All right. And these are, these have a little bit of a give and float to them. All right. If you're trying to be very prim and proper on the internet, all right, I'm not talking you're texting your buddy next door, I'm talking you're sending an email to me or to another teacher or maybe to your boss or you're applying for a job, those types of things. These are the types of things that you want to overall follow. Keep your messages short. All right, and again, this one is one of those ones that's very hard to follow sometimes because if you're applying for a job, your paragraph in your email you're sending is very short. It's one paragraph, but you've attached a whole bunch of information to back up who you are, what you've done, what your credentials are, and all the other stuff. So something to be aware of. Avoid sarcasm. Whenever we read something, we all read it with a picture in our mind of who's it's coming from and what they're trying to say and those types of things, right? So you need to be very careful with that, with what you type. All right. I'm sure that you're going to send emails complaining about a product to some company, and they're going to take it that you are this pissed off individual who's never had a happy day in their life because you're attacking them and their company. And you're also going to have some emails that you send, and you're going to try to say it as a joke. Well, it's very hard to know what's a joke, like the how your voice is coming out when you're saying something. So especially sarcasm, it's very hard to display that without putting like parenthesis sarcasm. Like, and we don't really need to do that. Avoid sarcasm. Proofread your messages. All right, we live in a digital era with computers doing all of the hard work for us, right? You type something up in Word or in an email or something, it's going to put underlines under what's wrong, what's misspelled. Underline if you have some grammatical errors and those types of things. Take the 30 seconds and proofread your document. All right. Um, or to 5 minutes if you're going to proofread it by hand. But you need to at least take a few minutes and look over your document, especially if you're expecting it to be a very professional document. Let the software do the hard part for you and make sure things are spelled right and your grammar is overall correct. But you should proofread your document again. Also, maybe if it's a really important thing, have someone else proofread it. All right, because when you proofread something you've written, you're reading what you expected to write, not necessarily what you actually wrote. All right. I can't tell you how many times that has bit me in the butt. I've read it. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's exactly what I wanted to say, and I hit send, and someone's like, did you mean this? And I'm like, yeah, like, why did you not get that? And then you read it really carefully, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, now I know why I didn't get that because I flipped these two words, or I wrote TOO instead of TO, or whatever the case is. So use spell check and proofread. Don't use all caps. Don't use acronyms. All right. Type things out. All right. Now acronyms again. If you're sending an email to somebody in your company who knows the engineering language that you're speaking, acronyms may be perfect. But so often, or more often than not, I feel like I'm emailing people who don't have all the same knowledge I have related to the topic, and those acronyms they don't know. So when I'm like, yeah, the FAA of the TBT of the QBA, and you're like, huh? And you try to search those things, and you're like, what's the FAA? And it's gonna come, well, the FAA is this, and you're like, that does not relate to engineering at all. So avoid acronyms. Just type it out, or if you're gonna use the acronyms, type it out the first time, put in parentheses the acronym, and then continue on so you can use the acronym the rest of the time in that email. All right. Avoid sending a flame. I like this one. What is a flame? It is a message that expresses an opinion without holding back any emotion that may be seen as being confrontational. All right. You've all probably wanted to write those emails where you're so pissed off at someone, you're like, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. And you just let it rip. And you send it. And then the next day you read it and you're like, oh, what did I just write? Or I might as well quit my job now. So that is what a flame is. So anytime you have one of those emails where you're like, should I send this? Like, that if that question enters your mind, take a step back, save it in your draft box, and send it the next day. So that way you can kind of give yourself a day to relax, look back at what you've actually written, and go, yes, this all still applies, or no, I better not actually send that one. All right. What's even better is to write it and then delete it so you don't accidentally send it. That's one too. So, um, and last, consider the recipient. Who's going to be receiving this message, right? You are pissed off at a company because they sent you a product or they stole money from you or, whatever. The product you bought only lasted a month or something like that. The person who's reading your email has nothing to do with the actual product itself, right? If you're, you have a smartwatch and the charger on it broke after a month of use, try to be nice, be willing to talk to the person. Traditionally, those people on the front lines, those customer service people, all they get done is yelled at every day, right? People they're just reading emails of people who are pissed and pissed and pissed and pissed and pissed. So try to take a relaxing, very sturdy, like your position. Don't waver from your position. If this is not acceptable, that I have this watch that I can't use it anymore. I just paid $100 for it a month ago, but it's not working now. But don't just lay it on the person who no clue, no control over anything. All right, so be aware of that. Um, Next, maintaining healthy workspaces. All right, and ergonomics when we come to the technology world actually has more effect than you think, and I know this from personal experience. I have a standing height desk in my office. All right. And I actually, when I'm standing, I want my monitor a lot higher. Like I don't want to have my arms up really high for my keyboard and whatnot to have to be typing when I'm standing. Um, and actually, I don't know if it truly qualifies as a standing height desk, but it's much higher than I would normally have made. have a tape measure around anyway. Um, so I had my monitors mounted actually 7 inches higher than they are right now, just when all this started. Um, and when I would just use it for a few hours a day for fun and whatnot, it wasn't a big issue. But when I started spending 8 hours a day in front of my computer here, I started to have some neck issues because I was constantly looking up. And it's not one of those things that, you really notice. So it's only a little bit of an angle that I am tilting my head back, maybe 10 degrees or something, 15 at the most. But that was enough to cause bad issues, you know, some bad problems with my body. I'm also a 6 foot tall person. I'm not normally used to looking up at things. Normally I'm looking, slightly down at, not to say that in a mean way, but my wife's only 5'10". I have to physically look down to see her. It's not like I'm going to be looking up to her. Um, so that ergonomics of where my monitors were actually had some problems. And this wasn't like when I first went to like get this looked at, like I'm like, what is causing this because of where the pain was and things like that. It didn't click to me that it was my neck until I was at one of the doctor appointments. And the guy was like, "Yeah, it might be your neck," and it's like, "Oh, I bet that's what it is." And I lowered my monitors down my 7 inches, so when I'm sitting here, the monitors are at the proper height. Now, once I stand up, and you guys can't even see my face anymore, but now I am looking down compared to where I want to be. So I still actually want my monitors higher whenever I'm trying to use my desk from the standing position, but that's a little bit of a give and take. So you want to make sure that you have an optimal setup for working, especially if you're going to be sitting somewhere for a long time frame. Um, Another thing that I have, keep yourself comfortable, heated seats or whatever it is, good quality chair to make sure you have a good position, um, good keyboard and mouse. All right, traditional mice are actually really bad for your wrist. Your hand is not really meant to sit flat on a table. It's actually meant to sit at like a 45-degree angle. And if you actually look at some ergonomic mice and things like that, there's actually ones that are mounted sideways, so your hand is actually like almost not perpendicular to the table, but at a pretty high angle. So kind of an interesting thing. It's one of those things I've always wanted to try to see like if it feels any better, but they're kind of expensive, and just for something for me to play around with, I didn't want that money. So, but yeah, so this ergonomics is it's the study of the relationship between workers and their workspaces. Um, how do you present yourself online? So your digital footprint. This is all the information that someone can find out about you by searching the web, including social networking sites, online gamings, forums, and many, many more. All right. Um, if you just type your name in, and it's kind of fun to do every once in a while, just Google your name, Greg Betts. Nothing crazy pops up about me, well, at least on photos. My name, nothing really popping out anything absolutely wonderful here. Let's go ahead and go Gregory Betts. Let's see if that pops anything up. I guess this guy's name must be Gregory Betts. But yep, still nothing crazy. Now it is fun if you do Gregory Betts. I think you do ISU, which is where I used to work. Normally there is a picture of me. Oh, I'm still not seeing it. That's kind of nice. Maybe it finally disappeared. Fighter 2. Yeah, that's definitely nice. Well, that's nice. Maybe I'm not going to pop up anymore. What about Hagerstown? Yep, still nothing. Cool. Okay, so you do that with images, nothing pops up. We do this on um, here, and you can see, oh, there I am on HEC's website. You can see white page information. So it's always kind of interesting to Google yourself and see what pops up. Wow, looks like my information might still be on my old job's website, which is and even with ISU, it shows you on the HCC one. So kind of neat there. Um, so lots of information, but Google yourself, see what's out there. Go to Facebook and search for yourself, from someone else's account that isn't your friend, and see if they can find you. Because you never know what's going to be out there. And make sure you have tight controls over your social networking sites. You can allow yourself to be found from friends, friends of friends, anybody. Go through those settings and try to make sure that they make sense. All right. Sometimes you'll need to have yourself visible to some extent, but you don't want yourself over down to. There have been people who are fired over social media posts. All right. Um, you do want to be careful about that. A lot of times, employers who are looking to hire somebody, the first thing they'll do is they'll Google them, go to Facebook, see what they can find, right? See what type of posts they make, those types of things. And that may not be something that you want your future corporation to be able to see about you. So definitely something you want to keep in the back of your mind. E-commerce, which has gone through the roof since the beginning of COVID. So we have social media marketing with e-commerce, which is the practice of using social media sites to sell products and services. If any of you guys use Facebook Marketplace, you'll notice there are ads for websites on there all the time. So it's crazy. Um, Also, how you can be on Facebook and there'll be ads on the side of your page. It'll be for something that you just look for on Amazon. You're like, how does Facebook know that I was looking at this? And that's a bit creepy in the long run. It all comes back down to cookies and things like that. So you might want to delete your cookies and use a computer, those types. So e-commerce refers to the buying and selling of products or services on the internet. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of that going on right now. There are three main types. We have B2B, B2C, and C2C. So business to business, this is where one business provides products or services to another business. All right. This would be like HCC buying paper towels or something, right? HCC is a business. It's a school, but it's still a business, right? We still have to, live off the money that HCC brings in and those types of things. So it is still a business. Um, so it is buying, paper towels from another business. You have business to consumer, so that's where a business is selling products or services to the consumer. So that'd be like Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon, those types of things. So you have one business who's selling something to you. And the last one you have is C2C, or consumer to consumer. This is where you can find, sell, or trade virtually anything on the internet. So this would be like Etsy or the original purpose of eBay, Facebook Marketplace. Those are all good examples of consumer. So it's just like me saying, "Hey, I've got this extra pressure washer that I don't use anymore. Hey, do you want to buy it?" And I'm posting it up for someone to come buy. All right, Craigslist would be another good example of this. So there are a lot of different options out there. So it is definitely kind of interesting to compare the different ones when you're doing research and things like that. And this business to business and business to consumer, especially with the internet, has definitely, I'd say, the line between them has grayed a little bit, because while the company's main source of income may be a business to business, if they have a website and you personally can go buy something on there, that's then a business to consumer. So they might fall into both categories. Um, Last, we talked about SSL a little bit already, which is the secure sockets layer. This is part of the HTTPS. So this is one of those things that you want to make sure is on, or you have an HTTPS connection when you are entering any sort of credit card information. That's just make sure it's there. So SSL is a protocol that encrypts data before it is sent out over the. All right. And the last slide, app culture. All right, so I have a few different type of things here. So when you think about applications, all right, and obviously that has been shortened to apps, which I'm not so sure is a good thing. But anyway, we have desktop applications. So these are programs that installed on your PC and require a computer operating system. All right, so if you're sitting in front of a Mac or a Windows or Linux computer right now, you have it probably on a desktop application. You are on Zoom's desktop application. Um, so the programs, they can be complex and designed to do many different things. All right, so like OBS, Open Broadcast Studio, what I'm using to again show you guys my screen and things like that. It is a more complex program, more processor intensive. I'm recording, I am sharing at 30 frames per second, I'm transitioning, all this other fun stuff. Um, and it's a kind of a heavy program in the long run, or not, it's not too bad, but it's got some weight to it. My cell phone probably would not be happy running it. Next, we move on to an app, and the real question here comes to, what is an app? So an app is a self-contained program usually designed for a single purpose. All right. So on your cell phone, you have a calculator app. All it does is calculate things. All right. Um, you have an email client or an app that all it does is get your email, right? Where on your computer, you may have an email client that has a calculator built into it and a calendar and all this other stuff. So we'll think about the PIM software, the personal information management, like Outlook. Outlook has a calendar, it has a contact book, and it has your Outlook email. All right. On your phone, you have an app for Outlook, you have an app for your email, an app for your contacts, and an app for your calendar. So our desktop applications are going to be have kind of combined multiple. Right? Now, mobile apps extend the functionality of mobile devices, so they give them more capabilities. Um, so you know, a cell phone used to be a cell phone. You used to make calls on it. You had a few little silly games built in, like Snake, Contact Book, maybe a calculator, and like that was it, right? An old school brick cell phone, and I actually still have one of those around. It's just out of reach right now, but I still have one around. And man, some days I miss that. Every once in a while, I've had to go back to that when my cell phone battery would be dead, or like I've broken my screen. I can't use my good cell phone anymore. This is before I had a few extra cell phones just lying around from previous like being replaced. I had to go back to that phone because I was like, if I don't do this, I don't have a phone I can use. I'm not gonna go just buy one right now from the T-Mobile store because that's gonna cost too much. I'd rather order one off the internet or order the replacement parts. So I carried around this little old candy bar style phone, and it was kind of really nice, right? You didn't have all the stuff to distract you. It's really small, compact. Didn't worry about breaking it. It was really kind of quick. But anyway, mobile apps, they extend the functionality. So we have games, we have calculators, we have graphing programs, you have um, web browsing, YouTube, Netflix. You can do basically anything you can do on your computer. You almost can do on your phone nowadays. You can even edit video on an iPad. So there's a lot that can go on there. It is safest if you going to download apps to your phone to use the recommended app store. So that would be either Google's app store or Apple's app store. Now, Google lets you use other app stores. So if you find an app that Google doesn't have on their website for whatever purpose, um, you don't have to. You can still install it. You don't have to use Google's app store. You can be like, okay, let me download the APK file and install it myself, which is absolutely wonderful. Like Google gives you the freedom to do that. It's a little complicated, yeah. There's a little bit of a process. You have to be just a little tech savvy to follow that process. But they let you do it. Now, Apple, on their hand, says, "Oh, if it's not on our App Store, you can't have it." All right, and they are in a big battle with Fortnite right now over this because Fortnite doesn't think it's right that Apple charges them 30% of everything they sell through the Apple app. Right? Are they willing to pay something? I mean, they're probably willing to pay a little bit for Apple to do some of this heavy work, but a lot of it they're going, "Oh, why am I paying you for this?" I mean, Fortnite makes billions of dollars a year through its app, so kind of crazy in that aspect. Um, but yeah, so Google, Apple, and Fortnite are in battle right now because Fortnite thinks it's not fair that they charge 30% for them to have their app on their app store. So a little give and take there. Now we also have web apps, which typically do not require any sort of installation. We kind of talked about this previously with SaaS or software as a service. Um, so this basically is using the Chrome or web browser or something that ensures that that's how you're accessing their information. So you just go to a website, you can log in. So like Google Drive or Google Docs or Microsoft or Office 365, those types of things. Those are going to be web apps. This is nice because this always ensures that you're always using the most current version of the program. All right. However, if you have no internet, you have no access to the app. So there's always going to be that give and take. All right. Um, Personally, I'm not a huge fan of web apps. I much rather have everything on my computer local. It keeps me from having to have internet. It keeps me from having to find those files. Autodesk Fusion 360 is my favorite CAD software to use right now, but it's all web based. So I have to download it to my computer, the software, but all the files and everything are stored on the internet. And if Google updates Fusion, I use it on my desktop, and I go to my laptop and it hasn't updated yet, and I want to open that same file, I can't. It's like, oh, you have to update first, and it just drives me absolutely. So there's definitely a give and take to those web apps. Does it mean that your computer that you're using can be on the lower end? Yeah. You ever look at the specs for a Chromebook? Oh, those are pretty dismal specs. You're talking like a dual core processor, no hyper threading, like 2 gigahertz, 4 gigs of RAM, and it's like, and that's from like 4 or 5 years ago hardware wise, but because they're using the power of the internet to do all of the processing, they don't need a high-end computer. All they have to do is run a web browser, which is absolutely wonderful from the cost of the hardware standpoint. So there's a little bit of a give and take. Now, how do you make money from applications or apps? All right. Ooh, And the first answer to that is dun, 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 scroll down, and that is pay per download. All right, so when you download or buy software, you're basically downloading, you're charged an upfront fee for the app or whatever, and that's it. You're done. All right. So if you go to Google's App Store and you want to buy a specific app, you have to pay for it. You get the app, and you're done. You own that app or the license to that app to use it for as long as you live. All right. Easy peasy. Now you might be going, hey, Adobe, $3,000 for your CS suite is a bit high. I don't think I can handle that. And this is actually the route that a lot of companies are going. They're going the subscription route. So there's a regular, reoccurring fee for use. All right. So instead of you spending $3,000 up front, you're going to spend $40 a month. Now, you're like, okay, $40 a month, that's $500 a year. So, after 6 years, you've paid off the software. However, after you've paid it off, you still don't get to stop paying. You have to keep paying for it. Now, again, you are always going to have the most updated software from the company, which is nice. So they come out with a new version of Office every few years, and you're paying for the subscription every few years. You just get the new version. It's done, easy peasy. All right. And so regular recurring fee. And again, little give and take there. There's very few things that I have a regular recurring fee for, especially on a monthly. Netflix or something like that would be same kind of idea, subscription based. Next, you have in-app purchases. So you get charged for additional lives, levels, or other features within the app. Traditionally, these are going to be very small, like $1 here, $2 there, those types of things. And they are sometimes referred to as micro payments because of how small they are. But over time, those payments add up and add up and up and up and up. And all of a sudden, you're like, I spent $3,000 last year in the Google Play Store because I bought lives, and Candy Crush wouldn't let me play another level, so I had to spend $2 so I could get another 5 lives to keep playing those things. So a little bit of a give and take going in-app purchases. And then the last option is in-app advertising. So you as the end user don't pay for the app at all. It's free on the Play Store. Okay, let me go ahead and download it. I'll put it in. And then every third level or third attempt at a level or 5 minutes or whatever it is, you see an ad. It might be a video ad. It might be a little ad banner across the bottom, whatever it is. But the company who designed the app said, okay, if you're not going to pay for this, I'm going to get advertisers to put a little ads in here once in a while, and they'll pay me. So that is another option. All right. Now, is there one option that's better than the rest? No. It all comes down to your personal preference. And, sometimes that pay-per download, that upfront fee, that may be way out of reach for people. And then the subscription fee sounds wonderful. Again, if you wanted to buy Adobe CS suites before they went to this whole subscription-based system, it was a very large chunk of money. But it's like, well, one time and done. Oh, within a year I've paid it and I don't feel like having to pay for it again. I'm going to keep using that software even if I don't update it. All right. Well, that's wonderful. You buy Microsoft 2000, you could still use that today. You can still install it on your computer. But you don't have all the nice, pretty graphical interfaces or updated tweaks to the software or things like those. So there's always going to be a give and take here when it comes down to purchasing your programs. So, all right. That is the end of chapter 8.